I'm styling something super sweet for your special sweetie today. I'm going to be making a delicious flourless dark chocolate cake with thick glossy meringue and fresh berries on top. When thinking about this recipe for photo, the most important styling element of the whole shebang is the meringue. That rhymed. This meringue is so important because it's gonna be key when I go to style it for photo. The best thing about this meringue is that I'm gonna put this right back in the oven. So there's a lot of contrast happening on this cake and it's going to be divine. Hey, this is what you don't want to have happen. Sinking in the middle, weird nooks and crannies in places, and just a sunken lava mess of a cake. When you put a cake in the oven, you really need to make sure that it's 80% baked before you even open the door. I know some of you are overeager, you're achievers, you want to get that cake right. Stay away from the oven door. The sudden shift in temperature when you open the oven goes and the cake just folds in on itself. Don't open the oven door until literally the timer goes off or I will find you and I will scold you. I'm gonna get our meringue going. So we have 3 egg whites in this bowl. Make sure your bowl is super clean so that your egg whites get nice and fluffy. The first tip in making meringue is watch your meringue and wait till it looks like you could stick the whisk in there and it will come up solid. You got this, don't be intimidated. Meringue schmeringue, it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna lock our beater and we're gonna go to about medium high and get these whipped up. Sugar, 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 hey, for you and me to enjoy. It's getting there. Looks like it's ready. Let me check it. Whoa, whoa, little mixer. Perfect. Okay, so you see how that was stiff, how it like whoop, came back up? Now we are going to add in our sugar. And I have super fine fondant and icing sugar here. You can use the fondant and icing sugar or you can use just super fine sugar. Don't use normal sugar because I promise you that your meringue's gonna look like it went on a trip to the beach. It gets really sandy looking. We're not looking for that. So I'm going to spoon this into our beaten egg whites and that's gonna get super glossy. And when it's sheeny, you know it's ready. So let's do it. I'm gonna try not to get sugar everywhere as well because I'm probably gonna get it on this cool t-shirt. And the reason why you don't want to do it all at once is because your sugar will go everywhere. And also it's good for the sheen on the meringue for you to do it slowly over time. So we got 1 good spoonful left. So I'm just gonna knock it in there. Woo, party. I want y'all to see how this is glossy, but it's not quite there because what I need to do is wipe down the sides of the mixer bowl to get all the sugar in there so it can all whip up evenly. Medium speed. We are ready to go. This is thick and glossy and it looks gorgeous. You can see it's beautiful, it's thick. When I lift this out, it's like stiff. That's good meringue. So once that's ready, I'm gonna add in cornstarch. It's gonna help your meringue set really well. You don't want your meringue to wilt and like look runny. That's the gnarliest thing and that's not happening to you. We're gonna add in a teaspoon of cornstarch. We're just gonna fold this really gently. When it's shiny, when it's got a good sheen on it and it gives you that stiff peak, you're good to go. And this really pretty sheen on the meringue is gonna look so good on camera. You see the sheen on the meringue and when the light hits it, mwah. Perfection. I'm going to put our beautiful meringue on top and we are just gonna beautifully swirl it. Here is where you wanna create even more visual interest. I wanna make sure we have some room around the rim of the cake so we can show off the chocolatiness of it and the texture, which is so pretty. And I'm just creating these little swirls. Beautiful. I'm gonna take this back out to the oven and I'm gonna bake it for about 15 minutes and I'll show you how to know when it's done. As they say in, I don't know where, a watched meringue never toast. If your meringue isn't toasting, you can turn the heat up in the oven a little bit. I turn mine up from 350 to 400. When it does toast, get that baby out of the oven because it will burn before you can say fire. I have our beautiful chocolate cake coming out of the oven and I'm going to take it out of the springform pan so I can start styling it. This looks amazing. You can see the texture around the rim of the cake, the gorgeous swirls on top of the meringue. I'm going to very carefully transfer this onto our plate. And I love to work with berries and you can see that it's all about adding color and texture to your food to make it visually appealing. And when you're looking for berries to buy at the store to put on your cake, look for a really taut skin. They just look really punchy and they have a really solid depth of color to them. Spritz, spritz, spritz. Don't be afraid to spritz a berry. Beautiful. It's amazing how just a little bit of water really perks them up on camera. It's awesome. So now that we have those spritzed, I'm gonna arrange them on our cake. Try not to mirror them so that your berries are symmetrical on each side. You want it to be asymmetrical. And I'm gonna start out with the tops of the berries because they're the biggest shape. Because I'm using raspberries and blackberries, those tend to really stain. So just work with confidence. When you put the berry down, down, own it, and go with that. You don't want to cover this whole cake with berries. I really am thinking about leaving space for your eyes to travel over the cake. So you're not gonna have a mound of berries in the center. We're gonna spread it out so you can see the texture of the meringue. You can see the beautiful fudginess of the cake, and you can also see the sheen on the berries. Leave it where you feel good about it, and then when we get it on camera and I see what's happening, I might add some more when we get to styling. I'm gonna do several things with this cake. There's so many shot possibilities here. Add a light dusting of powdered sugar and get a beautiful overhead so you can see all the creative elements. I could shoot it so that I sprinkle some berries on this surface and it looks a tad bit messier. I could slice out of the cake, put it on a separate plate, or even leave it on the cake server. That's super beautiful because at that point you get to see the fudgy denseness of the texture of the cake. And I chose this background because the texture, it's a beautiful white color, which actually coincides with the dark chocolate of our cake, but it also has great texture. It even mimics the texture of the meringue on top, which I think is super clever. So I'm gonna scatter some berries around the surface to add a little more color. Don't go heavy-handed here. I would just lightly kind of place some around. To me, food styling is all about the details, and taking care of the details, adding extra sheen to the berries, making sure your textures work will really set your photos apart on your social media feeds. And now for our final step, I'm going to add some powdered sugar. Use a fine mesh sieve. It helps strain out the clumps in the powdered sugar, and it allows you to have control when I'm kind of dusting it on top. Pick up a little extra texture, maybe a little some on the front berries, and voila, I'm gonna take a photo.